All right. Welcome to episode 2 of the Anime Sasquatch podcast. We're glad that you came back to join us for another conversation. This episode, we're going to be talking about what series we think make good starters for those of you who are just trying to venture into this kind of fringe, this underground genre world. Who wants to start?
I'll start this off because I don't want to hear no shit.
You just raring to drop that Dragon Ball, huh?
I am. I need to get this out. I need to get this out in the number one slot because it's number one. It is. So I'm gonna go with that Dragon Ball Z, okay? Because it's there's a lot of action in it. There's a lot of things that you can, compare to in your real life. Hey, my mom wants me to study. My mom wants me to do this. My mom wants my dad to have a real job and not be a fighter all the time. Whatever. You got the pervy uncle. Master Roshi's in there.
Yo, Master Roshi ain't nobody's pervy uncle. He's a predator. Let's be real. Also,
Master Roshi need a van with no windows.
Also, you know what? I forgot that we're not talking about the goats. We're talking about for starters. So I'm gonna take that back. We're talking about for starters. Dragon Ball is a good for starter. I take that back.
Thank you. Yes. I really like it. That to me is one of my easiest ones to just walk into. You have nowadays my kids are really into that My Hero Academia. So I guess that's their starter in this generation. So in this generation, maybe that's it. I mean, it's all bright and shiny, but for my generation, it was Dragon Ball Z.
I feel that. Okay. For me, I would say, damn, you know what? That point about the new generation and all that is actually a very good point. Because for me, my starter personally, and I made mention of this in the first episode, was Inuyasha. That's the first anime that I was into. Because it's got action is
excellent.
Right?
Excellent anime.
Action is a good captivator of interest, to just be completely frank. But Inuyasha also has drama. It's got romance. Not to say that you've got to necessarily be into all those themes, but the fact that it's so all-encompassing helps it to captivate your attention once you are drawn in by the action, right? So I would say Inuyasha is a good starter anime. I would also say, though it fell off, I would say that if you're looking for something new, you're not looking for all that grainy quality, even though, you could probably find remastered versions of whatever, if you search hard enough. I would say Seven Deadly Sins is a good starter too. Because I know when I first watched Seven Deadly Sins, when Meliodas split that fucking mountain, I said, shit, that's pretty dope. I ain't seen action like that since the fucking Wind Scar from Sesshomaru, right? So Seven Deadly Sins is a pretty good starter as well. Now, I've got my beef with it. It fell off. We'll get into that, but I'll leave it there for now.
We're going to have to get into that. Because we talked about that before. Yeah. When the new season came out, I was like, you fucking with it? You was like, nah.
I'll explain. We'll get into it. Like, it's a whole thing, to be honest. It's a whole thing.
Okay. Mine... So my starter, it's kind of unpopular, but I think everybody sitting here would like it. It's called Rising of the Shield Hero. I believe there is 2 seasons out, right? The shit's good. And it kind of, the reason I like it, 1, it's not too mainstream. 2, it has a good plot from the beginning. It's basically like 4 dudes. Well, I'm not giving it away, but I'm going to tell you the basis. Okay. So 4 dudes, they go into this alternate universe, blah, blah, blah. Basically, the whole thing that's fucked up and like kind of draws you in is because everybody likes the 3 people who, fuck, and now I have to explain even more. Okay. Everybody gets a weapon because they're basically summoned into this world to fight these evil monsters. Okay. Now there's 4 men. 3 of them get, offense weapons, like you get a sword, you get a bow or some shit like that. Now the one dude, the main character, he gets a shield, and then, which means you can only defend, you can't necessarily like attack, pretty much.
I think I can explain this more concretely. So 3 of them are Adam, Pam, and Mark. They popular kids and shit. They making it very clear. The 4th one is me. Nah, but
you can find that 4th kid in the library reading books and shit.
Pretty much. But then like there's this whole like fake sexual assault thing that the writer kind of put into the anime, which also like has you on the side of the main character. Like it goes on the other side of the Me Too movement, like Me Too versus like the people who are getting accused and like they're actually not at fault. Like basically the bitch is fucking lying. So it's a good it's a good anime. I would suggest it for starters. Even if you're not paying attention the whole time, you would still get like excited about watching the show. And I'm still waiting on the new shit to come out too.
I actually fuck with that immensely because I actually just watched that maybe a week ago or so. Because I had actually watched Overlord. I'd watched Overlord a while ago, but on the heels of watching Overlord, there was kind of this little thing that came out, like a little chibi thing, that came out of a couple of the popular isekais of the time. And isekai is just the genre of anime where, they're taken from Earth, they go to a whole other universe, right? And so the 4 kind of animes that were incorporated into that little chibi short thing, were Overlord, Rising of the Shield Hero, Tanya the Evil, and then Konosuba, which I don't know the English version of, but it's like fire and exploding and shit. But anyway, I had made it like a goal of mine to watch all of the individual animes that comprised that little chibi short. And I think of all of them, Rising of the Shield Hero was probably my number 2. So I fucks with that immensely. I would say I would agree with you.
All right, so my anime was actually going to be Dragon Ball Z, and I'll just talk about that briefly, and then try and bring up another one. The reason why I would say Dragon Ball Z is because I have for it being someone starting their journey, I have real life experience for that one. My nephew, who is 15 now, that's what I started him on anime with. And he took off like a rocket. Like he watches anime like nobody's business. He's got posters all over his room. And, he's, when you're in junior high school, not working or anything like that, you can watch anime like nobody's business. So he watches a ton of stuff that I had no idea existed. He's got a laptop and you know what I mean? So he definitely puts me up on game with stuff that I've never even heard of now. So I feel like that one was a really good one to start him off on. 'Cause, now he was able to connect to it better than I thought he would, because sometimes this new generation doesn't really like watching old stuff because of the quality of the video and things like that. So I really felt like that one was a good one, probably because of the type of story and because it's a action anime. But this next one that I'm gonna recommend for starters, it's one of the ones that's borderline cartoon anime, and it comes from your shirt, but Avatar. And the reason why I would recommend that one is because I feel like it's half anime, half cartoon. And that I feel is what makes it accessible for a lot of people, It's
half anime, half cartoon, all fucking excellent.
Right. And I feel like the fact that anime is underground is what keeps it from being accessible to certain people. But I feel like it tiptoes the line a little bit in certain ways that it would make people interested in anime who in certain situations probably wouldn't be, but that would give them a little bit of interest that they wouldn't in other situations have, but would watch that and say, well, maybe that other stuff could be a little bit interesting because I watched Avatar, maybe it is okay.
Not the movie, the cartoon.
Not the James Cameron movie, the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
No, not that. That hurts my soul thinking about that movie. That's just terrible.
Now, see, the thing with Avatar, though, is you're right on the money where you say it's like half, anime, half cartoon, or anime inspired, if we're being technical with your animated series ass.
Didn't I tell you he's going to be happy?
Hey, you predicted that. You got the gift.
I think my only qualm with that is I don't know that it is anime inspired enough to actually lead people into anime, if that makes sense.
So it just kind of led me there with the question, starting their journey. I do think that it would be enough to at least make somebody curious, as opposed to SpongeBob. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, it has fighting. It has, I would say, the philosophical, I don't know.
Dilemmas and shit.
Yeah, the same type of thought process I believe that an anime would have, to where if you presented an anime to somebody who had previously watched Avatar, they'd be like, okay, this is a little bit similar, and they would be more apt to try it as opposed to before they watched Avatar.
Now, since you mentioned philosophical dilemmas, I just have to say this. Avatar Aang is a pussy. He should have killed Ozai. I don't fuck with that. He didn't lose enough. Fuck him. I just have to put that up.
And I feel like that has a lot to do with the platform. You on Nickelodeon.
You're right.
Some things is going to happen, just like Titans, when you step up on HBO, right, you going to keep it real.
You're right. No, you know what? I didn't think about that. You're 100% right on that, though. You're right.
We ain't teens no more.
But you know what? I agree with you, but I have to disagree, because they killed people on Avatar. They killed Combustion Man.
They did, but
it was suggested.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they need to kill him, but also, come on, nigga.
And also, there's actually, like, when it comes to ratings, there's a limit. Just like when something needs to be PG-13, yeah, you can say certain things and you can do certain things, but only so much before it becomes R.
Okay, I feel that. Fair enough. And there really wasn't a way to kill him without making it very clear and visible. So fair enough. You're right.
Hey, y'all can't be killing people all day. That's Adult Swim territory.
Fair enough.
That's clearly focused on children.
For me, Full Metal Alchemist. If you want to, Full Metal Brotherhood, but Full Metal Alchemist is 64 episodes, so I think it's tolerable for somebody who's just starting. 64 episodes is not a lot. That's not a lot compared to all the other animes out there. Because at first I was like, maybe Naruto, but Naruto's much, much longer than 64 episodes. So if you're just first getting into it, Full Metal is good. It has a great story. It has fighting when there needs to be, and then drama when there needs to be. A little bit of love story, I guess. But overall, it was good. It wasn't my starter, but I would definitely recommend it to somebody who wants to step into that territory of trying out anime without dwelling too deep into it. Because Naruto has the first Naruto, not Shippuden, it has too many fillers. So you'll get lost in the storyline. Whereas Full Metal Alchemist, not that much filler. It's more, and now it's not the first one that aired, Full Metal Alchemist, not Brotherhood. It's not true to the manga. If you want to stay true to the manga, that means if you read, I want to congratulate you for reading, because these people don't read in this room.
Yo, I'm gonna need you. Hey, no. I read manga. Take that shit back. Don't be putting my name on the internet like that. No.
He reads some manga.
I want to speak on that. So that was something that I thought was interesting that did not come up on our set list, that, you got comics on here, but we don't have books.
Well, the last time I mentioned comics or books, I got no response. So I figured, y'all don't read. What's the point of me putting it on there?
Oh, but we do have an episode geared towards that, though.
But a book versus books is a total different realm, because then you get into all other kinds of genres.
Because
I'll be missing that episode.
Yeah. For me personally, if I'm going to take the time to read, no offense to the manga people, I want to read a book, because for manga, I'm like, I could watch the show. Why am I putting in extra work? That's just me.
I want to touch on that. See, the difference between, and I think this is interesting, maybe we'll touch on this when we actually get into, when we get more in depth on the comics and manga episode. Manga is the main content. Anime is actually meant to draw you into reading manga. And I feel like that's an interesting little, it's interesting how they do that in Japan versus how they kind of do it here.
I know, I'm speaking for a lot of people, but I want to say Americans don't want to read. You see the signs on the door, you walk in anyway, because you didn't read the fucking sign.
Avatar was set up in book 1, 2, 3, and 4. They went through each season and they were like, like the book of that season.
I don't think Avatar was not a book originally, though. I think that was just a thing that they did, because I know Avatar comics came out after the conclusion of The Last Airbender. I don't know that there were comics before the show itself, though. I might be wrong on that.
Most times.
Oh, shit.
I'm playing. You're a very wise man in fancy sweaters. Well, there had to be something.
No. It could be an original creation, something like that. I don't know. But hold up. Are we waiting for him to Google that? Or like...
That was going to be my question to you.
Okay. Who was talking just now? It was you, right?
Yeah, it was me. It's always me. Y'all just... My bad. And just fuck what I think. Everybody else got an opinion. Oh no, this Klingon didn't do this. Well, whatever. So anyway, yeah, Full Metal Alchemist for me, 64 episodes. You can get into it. If you want to stay close to the manga, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's slightly different, but that's it for me.
2 per person, though? Oh, you just put whichever one you have.
Not necessarily.
I did not have to. I mean, I mentioned Naruto, but there's a lot of fillers. So if you're okay with fillers, fillers being things not related to the main storyline, then Naruto.
The Dragon Ball has a shitload of fillers too.
Some filler episodes are fun, like Bleach. Those filler episodes, most of them I thought were good. Some of them were like,
well, it's not so bad. Like it was bad it was bad when I watched Dragon Ball in junior high. But right now, it wouldn't be bad because you don't have to watch that shit, you know. But when you have like, oh, I can't wait for this week's episode. Oh, it's about the past, you know. Like, no, what happened to the fight that's happening right now? But nowadays, when all the episodes are out and you ain't got to, I'm fast forward that shit.
Happens too, is because, you know, they're putting out, you know, because you're meant to read the manga, right? So they're putting out shit that's superseding the manga, so they're just making shit up. Fillers are literally just bullshit. It ain't canon, I guess, technically, but it ain't canon.
You know, Naruto had a lot of fillers, but they would always, well, I'm not going to say always, but sometimes they would reach back into those fillers and pull shit out of it. Like the fight with Sora, right? They went to the temple, and the temple just happens to be the same temple that Asuma Sensei's friend is at, and he's dead, and then, okay, so we're back at that same temple again. And then they pull Sora out of that same temple again. All of a sudden he has the nine-tailed fox chakra, and now we're fighting in the village over this shit.
See, but the thing with that is when they're reaching back, and I couldn't speak on this because I personally did not read the full Naruto manga, but are they pulling back on anime continuity, or does that shit happen in the manga and they're just, you know, intertwining them? You feel what I'm saying? Because it could just be that that's anime exclusive. That shit it has no basis in any other content. It's literally just from the...
I'm gonna say sometimes with the Naruto manga, the filler can relate. Most of the times, no. I think they had an episode where they were just bullshit. Because like with Boruto, the anime was so far behind the actual manga, and then they heard the displeasure of the viewers and were like, we got to catch this shit up. Because I don't know about you, but I don't watch Boruto for the children. I watch it to see adult Naruto. Fuck the kids. I want to see adult Naruto.
At first, I was like that too, and that's actually something I want to touch on when we start talking about the goats and the lames. So I'll hold up on it for a future episode. But initially, yes, I was on that train too. But when they introduced Kawaki, I was kind of like, okay, and shit. I don't know if you're caught up. Are you caught up?
I am caught up. But when they introduced Kawaki in the manga first, they were still on. They were still bullshitting with the kids in the actual anime. At that point, I was like, I just dropped the anime and just started reading the manga specifically because it was much better than what was going on the show. Even though it only comes out once a month. Yeah, once a month. So, there's that, but let's move into sci-fi. Whoever wants to start.
Oh, just to conclude that thought. At this point now, I actually do watch it for the kids because they done fucked on Sasuke and Naruto. So they trash now. Let's be real. you know.
I'll let you with your opinion.
Okay, so I don't watch a lot of sci-fi. Okay, most of what I do is like hella old, but I would suggest for starters for sci-fi, Twilight Zone, but like the old shit, because I didn't see like the revamp or whatever. But I remember an episode. It was like, so basically, obviously in our society, all around the world, pretty people, you get treated better. Ugly people, you don't. But there was an episode where the pretty people were like the minority and the ugly people were the majority. Like their faces were either, they looked like, I don't know, I don't remember what their faces looked like, but they looked pretty fucked up. So the ugly people were the majority. And then they took the pretty people and like put them in their own little sanctuary. So like they don't have to deal with the outside world, because there was this, she was a really pretty actress, but basically she was, I vaguely remember, I feel like she was being bothered because she was pretty, you know, and that wasn't the norm. But yeah, it was just nice to see it from a different perspective, like lightweight Black Mirror kind of, but in like old times, which I don't know how old the original Twilight Zone is.
That's just from like the 50s.
But it's good though. I like it.
See, but when you saying pretty people are, I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, period. But
they looked normal. Everyone else looked crusty.
oh, okay.
Yeah, they had like ridges all over their face.
Oh, so like Klingons.
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. They look like Worf.
So now we're getting into some like some philosophical type stuff of preference, you know. And they say that you think that you like the things that you like because you like them, but it's really formed by society and what society likes and what you grow up in. And beauty is kind of formed by what society believes is beautiful. And in their society, what we think is beautiful was what they thought was ugly. So all the good looking people were considered ugly in their society. And all the people with all the ridges, they were kind of discriminating against all these people who we would consider good looking. And it was just kind of a weird episode to look at all of these, you know.
Did they at least have good bodies or what?
Oh yeah. They were all slim or you mean the ugly people? No, it was really just their faces, you know, they were fucking lumpy and all, you know, fucked up. And it was just kind of weird to see the, you know, what we would consider good looking. And they were like, ugh, look at this girl. You know? And we're watching it like, oh, damn, what? She's hella regular. You the ugly one.
Okay. For me, like I mentioned in the first episode, sci-fi is new to me, period. When I, you know, came out of my safe space to tell these people, I'm talking about Pam, that I didn't watch sci-fi before. First of all, she belittled me. Okay. She made me, nah, I'm fucking with you. But, so when I am putting out my sci-fi starter list, it's secondhand. She recommended that I go to Star Trek and SG-1, Stargate. And, you know, I've been watching them and I fucks with it. You know, I think there's a lot of shit that I don't like and I make that very known. Namely that, the Egyptians are somehow white. We know that's bullshit. Also that the Mayans apparently, or the Aztecs are white. That's also bullshit. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that, but overall, it is a very interesting, sci-fi to start with. The only problem is that shit got like fucking 2 billion seasons or some shit.
It's 12.
It's a lot. So it's a good thing to start with, but shit, I mean, you have to have commitment if you're trying to get through the entire thing. So aside from that, shit, I don't know.
All right, I'll go. So what I would recommend, the question is to start somebody's journey. And this probably isn't the best recommendation because it's technically like it's a spoof kind of, but, the Orville. And the reason why I would recommend the Orville is because it's made by the same guy that makes Family Guy. And it's good in itself, because I believe that he's just a good, he's a good creator. And you'll like the show, but I don't believe you can fully you can fully enjoy it unless you understand the shows that he's spoofing. So the reason why I kind of would recommend it is because if you watch it as a show in and of itself, it's good. But then if you enjoy it, because I think you will, then you can watch Star Trek, and then you can watch another, other sci-fi shows, and you can understand the references that they make on that show and why it's funny, So I think that, I think it's approachable in that way, that it's a comedy and that it's lighthearted and it doesn't take itself too seriously as far as the science portion of it. I think that it's easy to digest in that way.
How many seasons was that?
2, I think. I hope they're doing another one.
It's good.
I thought that it was going to be a lot heavier on the comedy, but it wound up, it's just really good.
Yeah, it's pretty balanced.
Yeah.
The comedy is definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
So does it spoof sci-fi specifically, though?
Yeah. It's very Star Trek. But it almost lures you in being a comedy, and you're like, wait, but this is good though. This is like really good.
Because that's actually interesting because, and I told Pam this too. If you've ever watched South Park, right, the Imagination Land trilogy, right, when I originally watched that, and every time that I've watched that since, I didn't really get the references that they were making in that trilogy. It wasn't until I started watching Stargate that I was like, oh, that's the shit that they were talking about, right? I was like, I feel like I'm glad you actually made mention of a spoof, because those spoofs, even if you don't go seeking them, if you happen to come across them in some other aspect of your life, it gives you a greater appreciation of just like everything in general. Not just the spoof itself, not just what you're watching at that time, but just in general. It's like, oh, wow, these creators are actually like, taking bits and pieces of this and that. And it just gives you a whole overall greater appreciation.
And like that moment, that appreciation you're talking about, I feel that moment when I'm out somewhere and I hear a song and I realize that song that I had been loving, that was a remake. And I'm now hearing the original. And I'm like, oh, damn, I did not hear the original song. This is the person who made that in like 1950 something.
Oh man, there's so many. Like, I think to start off, I'm gonna have to hit y'all with a couple of honorable mentions. Trippin' the Rift. It's like an original way back in the day. I don't even know if it was a cartoon. It was like CG or something like that. And it was based about, these aliens in the future, and he had a sex robot. So there's your boobs, Alameen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sequest. You're like, what the hell is Sequest? Look that shit up. It's legendary, okay? It goes the opposite way. They don't go towards the stars. They go deep into the ocean. It's crazy how much we know about the stars above us and know nothing about our oceans that are here on our planet. They go like into that in a crazy way. Like that really sucked me into the genre of sci-fi. I think it's 3 seasons. That was back in the day, so maybe like 23. Yeah, they were pumping them out.
These days, you might get 10.
Exactly.
I feel like it's better that way though, because when I see the 23 episodes of this fucking SG-1, I'm like, yo, I'm about to tap out. I can't do it's not attention span though, because it's interesting. I'm watching it, but to finish it, like, it's intimidating. Like,
well, don't look at it as you're trying to finish the whole season in one go. It's one episode at a time.
But that's what binging is, though. We out here binging.
Watch one episode and then watch the next one, and before you know it, the season's over.
I don't know about all that.
You have to crawl before you can walk, and you have to walk before you can run.
See all these like baby boomers and shit, bro? Like, they dropping analysis.
Ain't nobody a baby boomer in this bitch.
Now we get it brought to us through streaming services. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I have choices.
Maybe that's what's wrong with y'all.
But my starter would definitely have to be Next Generation. That's it's the easiest one to digest because everything about Star Trek is lined up so you don't have to think too hard. So that's perfect for you younger people.
Yo, nigga, I'm gonna need you. You the one who said that you wasn't, a library dude. Like, I'm gonna need you to backtrack a little bit.
Definitely not. And I'm right there with you. Like, when I started watching the show, I didn't have to go back and, you know, watch the original series of Star Trek to know what was going on. But to go into like Deep Space Nine, you can't jump straight into Deep Space Nine. You have to watch Next Generation because there's characters from that show that are on Deep Space Nine. So if you jump from A to B without seeing A, you're going to be all over. You're not going to know what the hell this guy, who was Q? That's what you're going to say. And I'm going to laugh at you. You're going to say, who is Worf? You're going to say, who is O'Brien? All these people came from the first one. So Diana Troy's mother, all these people pop up on Deep Space Nine. You need to know who they are.
So is Deep Space, I mean, clearly it's Star Trek affiliated. Is it a direct continuation?
It's not a continuation. It's a spinoff, basically. So Star Trek Next Generation's over here, and they're trucking along, their ship explodes, and then another series picks up somewhere else. All in the same universe.
They are concurrent until they are concurrent. It's all in one. Like
what I'm saying is Deep Space Nine doesn't start up.
It starts up.
It doesn't start up at the same time as Star Trek Next Generation. They don't run concurrently, is what I'm saying.
Who does Cisco meet on the station? Picard.
He doesn't meet Picard on the station. He goes to the ship. He doesn't meet him on the station. Okay, look, people out there in the world, my wife is often wrong, but I let her believe she's right because she got that good.
It runs concurrent. It does. Because remember when Data came onto the ship and Bashir wanted to... Yeah. Okay.
I remember that.
Star Trek was still running when Deep Space Nine started. That's what I'm saying. So that means it was concurrent. Anyways, my sci-fi, since he took mine, it was TNG because of the ease and the diversity.
Diversity?
Yeah, the diversity in there. If you look at the original series crew versus the TNG crew, there's much more diversity. For one, there's more than one woman. That's the starter. Even though
say that again.
There's more than one woman.
On what?
On the crew, on the bridge crew.
Compared to what?
Just Uhura on original series.
Because Kirk was fucking everybody on that ship. There was women all over that ship.
What are you? I'm not talking.
All over that ship. Yeah.
That's not what I said. The bridge crew. Follow me down this rabbit hole.
I'm trying.
The bridge crew. So when you look at the picture of Star Trek, like on Netflix or Hulu, the picture of the crew, there's Deanna Troi and there's Dr. Crusher. But the original series is just Uhura and all the rest of the men. Now do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, there's a lot less people on the bridge crew in the original series. I got it.
No, there's more diversity on TNG than there was in the original series. That's what I'm saying. Is there not? There's more diversity in the original series?
No.
Okay, and they talk about more and go through more on TNG than they did the original series. Either way, it's a relatable series other than the original. For me, TNG was one, but since he took that, what I recommended to Alameen, Stargate SG-1, he took that one too. So now I gotta look for something else.
Well, you could just, support the idea. You don't have to think of something new.
Well, that's what I wrote in my notes, TNG. But I'll go with Futurama because I watch it every single night. If you don't want to go into something that's like deep diving, I like Futurama. It's funny. Has to do with Philip Fry. There's a robot that cusses. It's excellent. It's a great. Priorities. Right, priorities.
World of tomorrow.
Yes. And there's a crazy professor. There's a Rastafarian accountant. It's all fun.
Definitely just brought up Futurama last night. I was having some coffee and it's a medium cup.
You would be the cup, not them.
Oh no, that was the cup.
We actually gonna have to cut this coffee talk out because they wouldn't know what it is until after.
That's okay. They don't have to know right now. It's an inside joke. Subscribe and like, and you'll know.
Hit that bonus content. You know what's up.
You'll find out what a tall cup of coffee is.
Show, get your feet washed.
Get your tall. Get your tall black while you get your feet washed.
Yeah, that was from me. So I guess I'll move into comics. I'm sorry I didn't put books down here. But for comics, I have 3. I'm sorry, I'm being greedy. Luke Cage, Black Panther, and X-Men. Those were all for me. Black Panther, it's obvious. T'Challa. Who wouldn't want the first black superhero, for one? But he wasn't introduced in his own comic. You got to get him in Fantastic Four first. He's sprinkled around the Marvel universe first, and then he gets his own comic. You see, T'Challa's on the table. That was it for me. And then they tied him into X-Men with Ororo. Oh, it was all over from there. I'm all about black excellence.
For me, damn, comics. Again, I only recently got into comics, so I don't have too much to pull from. I've always been more of a Hulk fan myself. The way he smashes shit is excellent. It's an art form, okay? He do that shit right.
You and my 9-year-old.
But as far as comics, I'm gonna go out on a limb and suggest Black Sand comics. Hold up. Let me pull it up and see what the series is actually called, because it's short, it's decently interesting. You know, it's nothing too deep, like it's no Marvel, it's no DC. You know, it's an independent series, you know, that was created, you know, by a black creator. And I just started reading it like a couple months ago, and so far it's, you know, it holds weight. I don't fuck with the typos that are in there. I feel like they should be doing, you know, like, I'm not to put them on blast, like they should do better, you know, like it's
For someone to proofread.
right, exactly. You know, like you're putting this out for the community, you know, do a little bit better, right? But irregardless, the story itself is pretty good so far. You can find, if you don't want to read it, if you want to watch it, they've, you know, done some, you know, how they do on YouTube where they take the pages and, you know, animate that shit to make it into like a little movie. They've done that, so you don't have to read it if you don't want to. But the story is short enough that you can get through it in a single sitting, and I think if you read it, you know, you won't be too disappointed. So that's my comic. That's my one. And then anything Hulk, because, you know, the nigga smash it.
And he's a scientist.
But he smashed it, though.
Oh, that's the most important?
Heavy emphasis on smashing shit.
Yeah, he smashed it. And he, you know, he's super strong. He hold up mountains and shit, and he smashed it. So the scientist part is whatever. He smashed it.
The madder he gets, the stronger he gets.
Exactly.
I don't read comics, so don't even ask. I have them, to be fair, audience, I have them at my disposal. My boyfriend has a whole box of like 20 sitting in his room, 5 feet away when I'm at home. They're comics from the comic book store, Comic Command Center, Sacramento. You know, stop by. That was a free promotion, you know, just saying.
It ain't free. Hit us up.
The first one's free.
Yeah, they have comics. They have many comics. However, I have not opened any of them. However, you know, maybe one day when I'm very bored, I'll go in there and go grab one and read it.
Oh, you know what, though? I'm also going to recommend The Boys, because I actually bought that recently. That's an Amazon series, too. I watched that series, and that shit was so dope that I went and bought the whole thing.
Didn't he try to limit me to one?
Tried to limit her to one, and you out here throwing.
Like he on number 12 and shit.
My bad. You right. I'm a hypocrite. I ain't shit. You'll find that out.
Y'all gonna be sending in emails about him not being shit. He is not only a member, he the motherfucking president. No, so I really don't fuck with comic books either like that. Not because that's not really something I'm into, but that just wasn't really something that was introduced to me. That was my brother. He was really into comic books because I think that was more of his generation, and he never really passed that on to me. So I do read comic books, but I really don't feel like I have a large sample size to be giving my opinion on. However, with that being said, I do read, right now I'm reading a comic book. I have a few that I read, but right now I'm reading one called They're Not Like Us, and I'm partial to anything with people that got powers. It's a group of like teenagers, and they all have different powers, and I like this one because they're not perfect, you know, they're teenagers, so not only are they figuring out their powers, but they're really immature, and they're kind of reckless with them, to be honest, and they kind of have mental health issues, and they seem a little bit, what's the word? They lack empathy almost, you know, like you would expect a high schooler to do. And I don't know, it just gets interesting. They're like beating people to death. They're stealing from people, and they really don't have regard for other people's feelings or what they're doing to other people. And it kind of starts off where they find another person who has powers, and they're trying to acclimate this person to their group, and the person is really not sure how they feel about how these other people are. But yeah, that's the one that I would kind of recommend, because it's
So they're not really heroes, whatever.
It's unclear.
Okay, sound dope. I'm gonna check that out.
Some of them just do what the fuck they want. They take what they want. They do what they want. And other ones are somewhat heroes. I wouldn't even call them villains. I would just say,
Beat a motherfucker to death, you ain't a villain?
You could be an anti-hero, you know, like Nightwing do that shit.
so I would say they're teenagers. You know, they're people. You know, they don't. I would say a villain has an agenda. I would say a hero also has an agenda. They don't really have one. They're a group of people who all have a common denominator, which is their powers, and they live together.
That actually sounds super dope. I'm gonna check that out.
Okay, well, mine is the best of all the cartoon books, and it would have to be something that I'm gonna think of later because I don't read that shit. What is wrong?
You ain't shit.
Be better than all of ours.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna go talk to my boys at work. We gonna figure it out.
Because he don't play sports no more, but he's still competitive, and he gonna beat us.
You go into fantasy.
Fantasy. Well, I mean, my fantasy has some.
Mark,
Oh. Huh? What?
fantasy the genre.
Oh, okay. You need to be more specific, huh? Well, isn't fantasy more like, you know, witchcraft, you know, that Hogwarts shit?
Whoa, not shit.
Whatever. Okay. I mean, it has more to do with, you know, sci-fi is more to do with science and, you know, warp fields and, you know, math, essentially. Fantasy has to do, you know, with witchcraft and goblins, fictional characters.
The way, I'm not going to go that deep into it. Well, maybe. So I feel like the way it works is fantasy is the largest umbrella, and then everything else fits under, right? You can have science fiction just being, it could happen, it could be real, but it ain't, right? And there's never going to be a Stargate. Let's be real. There's never going to be a Stargate. We're going to go extinct before that shit happens.
So there was a time in the 70s when they were watching the Jetsons, and that was science fiction, and we have some of the shit they were doing on the Jetsons.
Look at my computer watch right here.
Right. We are making video calls.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough.
And it's like the government gives you the technology. You know, any technology that comes out that consumers get, you best believe the government had it first, and they had it for a while. So they had laptops in the fucking 80s, but we didn't know that. We just got some big ass computers, you know, so.
Internet was out for a long time before we got it on a consumer level.
It was military technology back in the day. Yeah.
I will concede that point. I'll concede that point.
So that bleed over into fantasy. What's that quote? Any technology that is sufficiently superior will be indistinguishable from magic.
Okay. Now, I will concede that point. What I won't concede is that there are still hard limits. I mean, y'all are the fucking sci-fi buffs. There's hard limits to physics.
You have hard limits. This is the patio conversation we had. He was talking about what turns sci-fi into fantasy is the magic aspect of if they can explain how the shit works. So he was calling Jedi.
They're magicians.
Look at, I couldn't even say the word because that's some bullshit. Gandalf is a wizard. He can do some magical shit. Obi-Wan Kenobi does some real life shit. He just has a laser sword.
What real life shit?
Why does he have to explain his laser sword for him not to be a magician?
It's not a laser sword. The fact that you said it's a laser sword shows that you're not a true sci-fi fan.
First of all, I was helping you out by calling it a laser sword because you're not into Star Wars like I'm into Star Wars. Oh, that's right. I still have to quiz you.
We do. Okay. It's not a laser sword.
That is correct. This is coming from the one who you thought that 4, 5, and 6 were the prequels. I'm just saying.
I'm numeralexic. You feel me? I don't fucks with numbers like that. You feel me? Okay. But anyway.
Right?
I do still, I hold firm to that. And this is, the in continuity explanation in a lot of these shows too. If you can explain it, people see it as science. If you cannot, or if you do not want to, if you have no need to, then more often than not, it's considered magic.
But the reason Star Wars is not considered fantasy is because at the time that it came out, there was really no genre of fantasy. Fantasy start.
The Hobbit precedes Star Wars. What the fuck?
No, we're talking in film. Star Wars was a book. You see these young children, everything has to come out in video form first. So Hobbit was a book. That is a fantasy, yes. Star Wars was a movie, an original creation, I'll put that in quotes, that came out in the late 70s. There was no genre for fantasy like that back then. It was considered sci-fi. Okay. Because it was in space. We had this discussion more than twice. Things that were considered going to space, outer space, dealing with time, all that was sci-fi. So the 4, 5, and 6 was sci-fi. When Lord of the Rings came out, that opened the door for more fantasy movies because Peter took it further than anybody else had taken it.
We are first name basis.
We are. So with that, what was your fantasy recommendation?
Well, mine would probably be Harry Potter because it covers a lot of things for you readers out there. There's plenty of books. There's the movies I thought were really good, but apparently the books are better than the movies. So I'm going to have to start reading things. I feel like shit just saying that.
Well, there goes your afternoon.
I know, right? Like all of them are gone. My goodness gracious. But yeah, like the Harry Potter movies, it started off and from right off the jump when, the glass disappeared and his asshole cousin fell into that snake cage, I was in. I was all the way in. Then they're on the platform and they bust their ass on the brick wall and they didn't get in. I laughed my ass off. I had a good time. It just got better and better every time they put out a new movie. The graphics got better. I'm talking about the CG stuff that they put in. The kids were a little bit more mature. You could pretty much watch these people grow up. That was interesting because it made me sad. I was like, shit, I didn't spend that many years watching these movies. What the hell was I doing? But yeah.
My picks are gonna overlap the next one, so I feel like it could be either or. But for fantasy, I'm gonna say The Witcher, because a lot of people here play. I'm gonna say people here play video games.
Yes.
Like me, sometimes, not really. But the Witcher video game that came out with the Witcher show on Netflix, and I think the season 2 finally came out. The game came out first though. But I feel like that's good if you played the game, even if you haven't played the game. The dude who played Superman, big ass, handsome white guy, gorgeous. He's in there, nice ass hair flowing. There's a little bit of sex. So, if you're into that, if you're into that, that'll draw you in. If you're not into the sex, you get to see like the story. It's weird how they did it to make it match the game a little bit closely. Even though I haven't played the game, my boyfriend, he says it's decently close for it to be a show. So, I feel like that's a good one for fantasy. Harry Potter is good too, but I'm also good. It could be. But I don't think most people play like basic game off a book though. But it sounds like it could be the way it's written. Second one, everybody knows Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen it, I just seen the whole thing last year. I wasn't into it. Everybody's talking about, Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones is that. I was like, what the fuck is that? Now, when you first get into it, you're like, damn, that's a lot of sex. That is a lot of sex. HBO, what are you doing? Or is it Stars? But I thought it was a lot. But once you get through like the first season, the second season, the characters draw you in. Like the setting is great, stories is great. You might not like the ending though. I thought it was okay for a person who had seen it after everybody else. I'm like, well, why isn't everybody in an uproar? Like, it wasn't the greatest ending, but I felt like it fit for them not to have a fucking book, to go off of. But yeah, those two, a little bit of sex, is always good.
You already know I rock with Narnia. That's my ride or die fantasy. The Witcher, I started watching it. I need to get back into it, but Netflix, I don't know. That's a lot of money. If you got a free Netflix subscription, you could hit. No, but on a real note, I would actually say Castlevania, which ironically enough is a Netflix thing, not an old thing. It's relatively new. I believe it's also based on a game, and it goes hard. It's pretty interesting. So if you haven't watched that, it's about vampires. Basically, it's about Dracula and all that shit. So I would also say, you know what, I fucks with anything vampire and werewolf. So Underworld, honorable mention. Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. I fucks with that nigga. Like, fuck Stevens, fucking whatever that nigga's name is, Superman. Fuck that nigga. It's Hugh Jackman is where it's at.
I can't even say it's wrong.
There you go. But yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I fucks with that. Yeah, that would be my fantasy recommendation.
All right, I fucks with Narnia, and for you to fuck with Narnia is so tough. You don't fuck with the hyperbolic time chamber because that is the same shit as the wardrobe.
Not though. It's not though. It's a.
Oh my gosh! The only difference is they not working out in the fucking wardrobe.
No, but the hyperbolic time, see. I disagree with that because what you're describing is just the concept of different dimensions in general. And yes, I mean, it's a different dimension. Technically, they kind of are. So
I mean, they battling. Yeah.
It's not that I don't fuck with Dragon Ball. It's just that Dragon Ball has so many fuck ups that I can't blindly follow it. And it's partly a product of the fact that it's been so successful and has run on so long. They just don't know what to do with they shit no more. And then the author is a fucking troll to begin with. So, but we'll get into that. Like, it's not,
We'll get into that. So again, I'm going to go back to the question, someone's starting their journey, and we got the young kids up in here, which this is a good show. I like this show. But the season is short, and this Twitter generation we got up in here, you got to take that into consideration. Right.
Yo, I don't fuck with no TikTok. Okay, I'm a grown ass man.
Hey, he a grown ass Kevin Hart man, he a grown ass kid. Right. He ain't got time like that. No, but I'm gonna go with one that's relative. Well, that it's new still, because I think that matters too with the new generation. Like I was talking about before, we got to watch it in 4K these days, or they ain't fucking with it. Sweet Tooth. I thought Sweet Tooth was real good.
Robert Downey.
Yeah, Robert Downey. Yeah, he came through with that one, and I think it's real lighthearted. I think it, the whole family can watch that shit. It was cute, and it was hella good. It's pretty short. I watched it in one weekend, and it was fantasy to the fullest. And they left it wide open for that next season. So yeah, check that out. I thought it was good. Oh yeah, we plugging, and you ain't getting my shit, motherfucker. You ain't shit.
Well, you already know for me, it's Lord of the Rings all the way. If you're gonna if you're gonna dwell into that fantasy, dive into that bitch head first. Now, I was discussing this with my husband here when we were driving here. I was like, I don't know if I should mention it because Lord of the Rings it's pretty long. Not as long as Harry Potter. Well, shit, not a lie. Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, when you first dive into them, those are pretty long movies. So I mean, you got to take breaks sometimes because it's really long.
Break us that.
Most definitely. When Lord of the Rings first came out, those lines were long to get into. We used to stand outside in the theater, midnight showing, so we can see it before everybody else and talk that shit. And we seen Lord of the Rings. I remember that. This is before we had kids.
Wait, hold up. Lord of the Rings ain't that old.
Yeah. I felt like it wasn't that long.
Yeah, this shit was like 2005 or some shit.
It's long.
No, I'm not talking about the movie. Like, it's not that long ago that they put them out.
How old do you think we are, Alameda?
Like 50 or something.
Black don't crack. It's hard to tell. I could be like 113. He would know.
2005. Put money on it. The first one.
2001.
Shit. Boom.
That quality's too good to be 2001.
I wasn't going to say anything because I knew I was in high school when that came out, but I was just going to let this ride.
Fair enough.
2001, 2002, 2003.
Really?
Yep.
Damn.
Lord of the Rings. Which ones did we see? Harry Potter? Was it Harry Potter? It was Harry Potter. And the prequels to Star Wars. That's okay. I apologize. I did mix them up. I did not see Lord of the Rings with him, but I
Yes, you did.
No.
Yeah.
No. You just said you right? You just said it came out in 2001.
My mistake. I didn't know her then.
There you go. It wasn't me. But we did go see Harry Potter together. That is true.
First Harry Potter come out. You tell me it's 2001 as well. Then.
No. Because 2001 is when he graduated high school. I didn't graduate till 2003, so there's no way. So I did mix them up.
This shit says 2001 for the movies, Harry Potter.
Damn, Mark, what did we see together? I don't know.
Like the last.
Maybe we did. Like I'm just gelling it all together.
Because the first one came out 2001, second one came out 2002, third one came out 2005. I'm sorry, fourth one came out 2005.
Then maybe that's the first one we started with. Okay, we're trying to keep it legal here. I was not with this man in 2001.
I would have gave you a second look in 2001.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was underage.
I wasn't looking your direction.
Anyways, so Lord of the Rings for me, and then the Hobbit series as well. Now, the Hobbit series, the first one doesn't have as much action as Lord of the Rings. If you're looking for action, and if you're a fan of Sam, because Sam was the shit, fuck Frodo. Then I would say start with Lord of the Rings. If you like to keep it close to the books, The Hobbit. That's a good story. Either one Gandalf is in. It's a good place to start. Moving over to action and adventure.
See, I have an issue with this one. Like, I get that we're trying to be all inclusive of different genres. Action and adventure is literally everything else.
Exactly.
Like, that's not fringe, though.
Like me, it could just be your favorite action and adventure movie that you start them off with. So for me, I started my kids off with Jurassic Park.
But that's not fringe, though, is what I'm saying. Like,
It has to be friends.
Yeah.
that's the whole point of Blurred.
No, that's not true at all.
Be true to yourself.
If you look at cosplay, they're not cosplaying fringe characters. They're cosplaying mainstream characters.
Nobody was like, fuck Frodo. Fuck, Sam. I want to be one of them random ass monsters that came out of the ground.
I want to be an orc. I mean, no.
That's half true. Because some people do cosplay anime, which in and of itself is fringe. So no matter who they do.
Which one are they bringing up? I mean, are they going to be One Punch Man? Or are they going to be, that wasp lady or some shit?
It depends.
No, they're going to be the main guy. Somebody dressed up like I have Naruto, I have Sakura, I have Sasuke, but I'm going to be that random ass person that's sitting in the back of the class.
It ain't gotta be, it ain't have to be like the fucking tier F characters, but.
So you want to be Rock Lee?
Hey,
Rock Lee is the shit. Don't you talk about Rock Lee.
Eyes. Them eyes freak me out.
You can look at his eyes while he whoops your ass.
Like Rock Lee, Might Guy, don't ever disrespect them. Might Guy is a hero.
They're my favorite out of everybody.
Action and adventure can include fringe. For example, have you ever heard of a movie called Meteor Man?
Oh my God.
With Robert Townsend.
That's right. Robert Townsend. He gets superpowers from a meteor that lands in his neighborhood. He lives in Washington, D.C. Not the best part of it.
Chocolate City.
Exactly. So that's action and adventure movie, and it's a fringe movie. So I accept your apology. Go ahead, Mark.
And that's about as close as you gonna get from an apology.
I think mine would have to be, because we talked about one in the car, but I don't want to use that. I guess Indiana Jones then, since I'm being pressured, but.
I think you took Adams because he hit the whole fucking mic. He just
I mean, it's so good. It's just really good.
Except the last one.
Yeah, I do not count Crystal Skull. I do not count it.
It wasn't even Shia LaBeouf's fault. It was the Crystal Skull part. It was the entire plot.
I liked Shyla. Shyla's good. I mean, have you seen him in Holes back in the day? That was a good movie.
Anybody else for action and adventure?
You already know my position, so I'm gonna skip that one.
I got The Walking Dead, but thing was, okay, you remember, I forget what year it was. Walking Dead came out, everybody was all over it, because Twilight, I think, had ended, and people were past the vampires after that whole Team Jacob, Team Edward bullshit at Burger King.
Hey, don't disrespect Jacob over here.
Anyway, Walking Dead came on, everybody, the whole planet was on it, and then I watched it, and then it just got to be like the same shit, or it was getting too long, so I think I ended where they got to the town with Andrea and the strange man who kept his daughter in the fucking...
The governor.
Yeah, the governor. I think I ended somewhere around that time frame. But however, if you can get through it, because I'm pretty sure they finally done the last season. I hope they have.
I didn't even see them all. I had to stop.
Try to get through that. The beginning, great. You might have to struggle a little bit in between. I don't know. Adam, you've seen the whole thing.
Seen every single episode, all of it. I am a blurred to the fullest when it comes to zombies.
I used to watch all of them every week, and they would have that after show, which was, The Talking Dead. I used to watch all of them, but then it just got to the point where I was like, fuck, Negan now? Like, these motherfuckers can't catch a break. They got the prison, everything was set. The governor bust they shit down with a fucking tank. Where you get a tank?
And then Negan is on their side now. I mean, yeah.
I think if you're going to go with zombies, World War Z was a good movie.
Oh, I don't count those as zombies.
Them shits was running. I need my zombies to walk. I can't be.
The father of zombies doesn't even count that as zombies. George Romero, he's like, nah, that's not.
Yeah, those were infected. They weren't zombies.
Yeah, that's not even a real. You know what I mean? Like a dead body running that fast would break down. How
Technically, they weren't dead.
Talking scientific facts when it comes to zombies, for real.
Yes. What are we talking about? Yeah.
If you look into there's this parasite that like floats around and it'll land on a like an ant.
Mm-hmm. Zombie ant. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll control this ant and make it go into the hive, into the center of the hive.
Yeah.
And then it'll explode its head and then infect all the other ants around.
Have you seen The Girl with All the Gifts?
No.
That's a zombie movie that uses that concept, and they it's more of a spore like that one is. And
The thing is, those things aren't dead though.
they do eventually die because it infects the brain.
Yeah, so the head like rots away. It's like it's also in this game, The Last of Us. None of y'all have ever played that.
Mm-hmm. I have it.
I've seen the walkthrough though.
I have both of them.
And I bought the game.
Yeah, I got both of them in.
Oh my god, I want to play that second one so bad. Don't tell me nothing. I want to play it so bad. I got to get a PlayStation 5. Anybody out there willing to donate, I'm picking it up. I'll drive to your house. It's fine.
Yo, they can't even get PlayStation 5s for themselves. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hey, look, you never know. There might be a blessing out there for me.
Wait, so is there still like a scramble for those though? Or is it normal now?
Yeah, no, there's a scramble for everything.
And it's Christmas time coming up.
So that's going to conclude episode 2. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, comment, come back next week or 2 weeks for another conversation.